Hello, this is Willie from the Ozarks, and it's March what is today? The 10th, and we're ready for Workbook Lesson 69 in A Course in Miracles, Workbook for Students. And the lesson says, "My grievances hide the light of the world in me." My grievances hide the light of the world in me. And before we look at that, let's review just quickly yesterday's lesson 68. Love holds no grievances. I trust that you recognize the supreme importance of seeing everyone as your friend from that lesson and reminding yourself that often throughout yesterday. All right. Today we're going to be "My grievances hide the light of the world in me." All right, I've got some bedding plants that I've got that I'm going to be putting out. These are some cabbage plants. They are a hybrid, actually, which, I don't really so much care for hybrids, but what's available. I like the idea. It says it's a 45-day variety. They make a smaller head. Golden Cross is 45 days. I expect 45 days from this point. Yeah, that's probably, I bet you there's probably 45 days there too, don't you think? So it's probably more like a 90-day is my guess. I don't know. All right, let's go. We are learning about letting ourselves see everyone as our friend, which is our true identity. All right, we're going to read this lesson. My grievances hide the light of the world in me. No one can look upon what your grievances conceal, because your grievances are hiding the light of the world in you. Everyone stands in darkness, and you beside him. But as the veil of your grievances is lifted, you are released with him. Share your salvation now with him who stood beside you when you were in hell. He is your brother in the light of the world, which saves you both. Okay, so he says very specifically, when we see others with grievances, we're in hell. Okay, but you can be in heaven by loving your neighbor as yourself. That's how the Master said it 2,000 years ago. Today he's telling us the same thing, but in an amplified way, very specifically, trying to help us to actually integrate the idea instead of just realizing theoretically that it's what we're supposed to do. We've got to actually do it with our feelings and our thoughts. So that's what we're working with, okay? And he's helping us. And today is a big lesson indeed. The meditation that we'll have, lesson 2, or paragraph 2. Today, let us make another real attempt to reach the light in you. Let us reach the light in you. Let's make a real attempt, he says. Before we undertake this in our more extended practice period, let us devote several minutes in thinking about what we're trying to do. We're literally attempting to get in touch with the salvation of the world. We're trying to see past the veil of darkness that keeps it concealed. We're trying to let the veil be lifted and see the tears of God's Son disappear in the sunlight. We're going to see all of our tears disappear in the sunlight. So we're trying to approach that light. 3. Let us begin our longer practice period today with the full realization of all this and real determination to reach what is dearer to us than all else. Salvation is our only need. There is no other purpose here and no other function to fulfill. Learning salvation is our goal. Let us end the ancient search today by finding the light in us and holding it up for everyone who searches with us to look upon and rejoice. He calls this The ancient search, what we've sought ever since we first believed in separation, which was a long, long time ago. But now we're able to end that ancient search. He says here that there is no other purpose here and no other function to fulfill. Salvation is our only need. All right? We want to recognize how important this is, that all the other things that we're doing are nothing in comparison to finding God inside. All right? Self-realization is another way of saying that. Number 4. Very quietly now, with your eyes closed, try to let go of all the content which generally occupies your consciousness. Think of your mind as a vast circle surrounded by a layer of heavy dark clouds. You can see only the clouds because you seem to be standing outside the circle and quite apart from it. Okay, so here he's saying, very quietly now, with your eyes closed as we begin this meditation, try to let go of all the content which generally occupies your consciousness. Think of your mind as a vast circle, a vast, vast circle, surrounded by a layer of heavy clouds. Okay, this big circle, think of your mind as a big circle with clouds surrounding it. You can see only the clouds because you seem to be standing outside the circle and quite apart from it. You're basically out of your mind. Okay, that's what he's saying. You are outside the vast circle of your mind, and you're looking back trying to find it, and that's where we're headed, to our mind, to God, to the one mind, to the Christ. But it seems like there's these clouds all around, and we can't get through them. But he says you can. He's going to show us how. I wanted to give you a picture of the visualization there. Paragraph 5. From where you stand, outside that circle, where there's clouds that make it where you can't even see the bright light of your mind, the bright light of the sun, you can see, from where you stand, you can see no reason to believe there is a brilliant light hidden by the clouds. The clouds seem to be the only reality. They seem to be all there is to see. Therefore, you do not attempt to go through them and past them, which is the only way in which you would be really convinced of their lack of substance. We will make this attempt today. So he's saying you don't even realize you can go past these clouds. To you, outside your true mind, you think that that's a solid substance and you can't get through it. But he says differently. Paragraph 6. After you have thought about the importance of what you're trying to do, to be in touch with God, within yourself, with the bright light of being, with your own mind, to not be outside your mind, but to be integrated with your true self. So after you have thought about the importance of what you're trying to do for yourself and the world, try to settle down in perfect stillness. Try to settle down in perfect stillness after you consider how important this is, remembering only how much you want to reach the light in you today. Remembering only how much you want to reach the light in you today. Now, he says, determined to go past the clouds. Determined to go past the clouds. Reach out and touch them in your mind. Reach out and touch them in your mind. Brush them aside with your hands. Feel them resting on your cheeks and foreheads and eyelids as you go through them. Go on. Clouds cannot stop you. 7. If you're doing the exercises properly, you will begin to feel a sense of being lifted up and carried ahead. Your little effort and small determination call on the power of the universe to help you. and God himself will raise you from darkness into light. You are in accord with his will. You cannot fail because your will is his. You cannot fail because your will is his. You cannot fail because your will is his. Sink down into that stillness and realize how important it is and how much it's the only thing you truly want, is this realization of God within, your true identity, your true self. Paragraph 8. Have confidence in your Father today, and be certain that he has heard you and has answered you. You may not recognize his answer yet, but you can indeed be sure that it is given you, and you will yet receive it. Try, as you attempt to go through the clouds to the light, to hold this confidence in your mind. Try to remember that you are at last joining your will to God's. Try to keep the thought clearly in mind that what you undertake with God must succeed. Then let the power of God work in you and through you, that his will and yours may be done. That God's will and your will may be done. Remember, your happiness, what you really truly want, when you're in your right mind, when we've gone through the clouds to the vast circle of light, that's what you really want. And that's God's will, which is one with your will. All right? That's why my teacher that I had before I got into A Course in Miracles, Paramahansa Yogananda, said that this is what we want. It's the most important thing in all the world. Same thing that Jesus is telling us here. We want this realization of our true self. All right? Paragraph 9. In the shorter practice periods, which you will want to do as often as possible, in view of the importance of today's idea to you and your happiness, remind yourself that your grievances are hiding the light of the world from your awareness. Remind yourself also that you are not searching for it alone, and that you do know where to look for it. Say then, my grievances hide the light of the world in me. I cannot see what I have hidden, yet I want to let it be revealed to me, for my salvation and the salvation of the world. Also, last paragraph. Also be sure to tell yourself, if I hold this grievance, the light of the world will be hidden from me. If you are tempted to hold anything against anyone today, also be sure to tell yourself, if I hold this grievance, the light of the world will be hidden from me. If you are tempted to hold anything against anyone today. So there we have it. We are going to hold nothing, no grievance against anyone. I want to go back and I want to read this one more time, starting with the number 9. In the shorter practice period, let's go back to 8 one more time. Have confidence in your Father today. This is in our longer practice period. And be certain that he has heard you and has answered you. Have faith that you've asked and that you see the importance of what you want, and that your little effort is going to be met with the strength of heaven. It's God that does all the work. You just give him the opportunity, okay? The little willingness. And he'll meet it with the strength of the universe. You may not recognize his answer yet, but you can indeed be sure that it is given you, and you will yet receive it. Try, as you attempt to go through the clouds to the light, to hold this confidence in your mind. Try to remember that you are at last joining your will to God's. Try to keep the thought clearly in mind that what you undertake with God must succeed. Then let the power of God work in you and through you, that His will and yours may be done. His will and yours may be done. The one will, the Christ. And again, let's look at the last little bit here. In the shorter practice periods that we're going to do throughout the day, as many times as you can remember throughout the day, every 15 minutes if you can. Or I set a timer one time, and people can say, what does that keep beeping? It keeps going off I think I had it set for every 15 minutes so I could remember to do my lesson. And then later I realized, the better way to do this, it's not quite as disruptive to people. Of course, it was a nice opportunity to tell people, but the people around me a lot. They were saying, do you have to do that? I found out later that really what we want to do is be so intently aware of how we feel that when we notice any kind of disturbance in our peace or joy, that we let that be the buzzer. That's the alarm that says, oh, do your lesson. My grievances hide the light of the world in me. So in these shorter practice periods, which you will want to do as often as possible in view of the importance of today's idea to you and your happiness, remind yourself that your grievances are hiding the light of the world from your awareness. Remind yourself also that you are not searching for it alone, and that you do know where to look for it. Say then, my grievances hide the light of the world in me. I cannot see what I have hidden, yet I want to let it be revealed to me for my salvation and the salvation of the world. So there's what we're going to be saying throughout the day. It'd be nice to keep that idea in your mind. Either memorize it and say it to yourself, or get the content idea in your mind and bring it back to your attention. Maybe say at least, my grievances hide the light of the world in me, repeatedly throughout the day. Also be sure to tell yourself, and here's what you're going to tell yourself if you're tempted to hold a grievance. If I hold this grievance, the light of the world will be hidden from me. If I hold this grievance, the light of the world will be hidden from me. So let's not hold any grievances. Let's allow ourselves to be one with that bright light that is our essence, our one mind with God. And until tomorrow, practice as you can, seeing God's goodness and your brother and sister's goodness as you hold no grievances. My grievances hide what? The light of the world in me. And remember, that's your function. To spread the light, to shine the light. That's what you came here for. And we do that by not holding grievances. That's what forgiveness is. All right? So, until tomorrow, my grievances hide the light of the world in me.